Hi there, this is Debbie Nicholson. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for Beat Cancer, and we're so happy you're here today. Please like our YouTube channel, and if you want to leave a comment and get involved in the conversation, we really appreciate that. We have with us today one of our wonderful coaches, Eli Hans. Welcome, Eli. He is a cancer survivor.
Yes.
In 2014, he was diagnosed with a very rare, aggressive form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and was actually given a 10% chance of survival. And this wonderful man connected with his inner tuition and developed strategies and life-saving ways of not only surviving, but thriving. And he's here with us now, and he's a cancer coach and a life coach and a motivational speaker, and he's very inspirational and a workshop leader, and he's just absolutely amazing. And I love the energy that comes off of this man, and I'm so happy to welcome you. Eli, thank you for being with us.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here and share a little bit of time together.
Yes. So you have a really inspirational story, and people always love to hear hope. So can you tell us a little bit about your cancer journey?
Well, let's see. It started in September 2014, and as anybody who's ever heard those words before, you know, it's the most terrifying thing you can hear, and your world turns literally upside down in just an instant. So yeah, I was diagnosed with a rare form of lymphoma called anaplastic large cell lymphoma. And my wonderful oncologist never gave me the 10% number that you just referenced until like 3 or 4 years later. I knew it was serious because she seemed very concerned, but I didn't actually know that it was actually 10% chance of surviving. At the beginning, it was devastating. You know, I went through a couple of weeks of almost wanting to give up before even starting. I had had a partner that had cancer in the past, and I went through taking care of him and the chemo and all that stuff. So that was one reference. But I also had a reference of another very important person in my life, my cousin that I adored, that in the 90s had a stage 4 lymphoma in her liver. She looked like she was like 8 months pregnant with an enormous tumor. And she decided not to have any medical intervention. In those days, macrobiotics was a big thing. So she chose to do everything natural through macrobiotics, and she healed. And it was amazing to see her complete transformation, not only physically, but, you know, emotionally, spiritually, in every way. So I also had that reference and that context in knowing that it was possible. So I never wanted to do chemo. I was terrified of it. But after doing my research of all the cancers out there that there are, lymphomas tend to, and blood cancers in general, tend to do well with conventional treatments. So I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to do this. I actually had the director of an alternative clinic in Tijuana tell me, you know, if I were you in your situation, I would go through conventional treatment. And if you need more support, then I'm here for you. And when he said that, well, my decision was made, but I couldn't go into it kicking and screaming. I knew that if I was going to do that, I had to really get behind it 100%. So I had to reframe the whole idea of chemo, and I called it love juice. And I just needed to know there was some love involved in this whole process. And
that's very important because the mind is so powerful.
Absolutely. And I knew that if I was going to do it, I had to get behind it somehow. So I made these little stickers that said love juice. And I asked all the nurses at the infusion center to please only refer to it as love juice. And, you know, they came to me with their little hazmat suits and everything. So, here's your love juice. And they put the stickers all over the bags. And, you know, it really helped me get through that process. It wasn't easy. You know, there were some very, very difficult moments. But along with all of that, I also knew the power of nutrition because I had seen what my cousin had gone through. And actually, I had also studied microbiotics back in the 90s to support her. And I led cancer support groups even back then. And so I knew how powerful this was. So I dove right into the whole nutrition piece, big time. And also, along with my wonderful conventional oncologist, I also hired a naturopathic oncologist that I never met in person. We only did this via phone. He had been recommended from a friend who had pancreatic cancer, and he's still around. He's been around for over 10 years with the guidance of this gentleman. So he helped me a lot with supplements and with testing different things, different markers that my regular oncologist had no idea about. So it was interesting how I found a good balance between them. And then it really became an amazing adventure into healing at every level. It wasn't just about getting rid of the cancer. I realized there was a lot of things I needed to heal in my life. So, I really believe that cancer is a multifactorial result of imbalance in our life. There's so many different layers. And I decided I needed to find out what those factors were for me and find a way to neutralize them in some way, come to peace with them. So I made a lot of changes. I changed my career. I was doing interior design, which I loved, but it was very stressful, being involved in huge remodeling of projects. And it was adding a lot of stress to my life. So, I got in touch with my passions that I had kind of buried through the years for many reasons. And one of those passions was to become a transformational trainer of personal growth workshops. So I took a lot of trainings to do that. I became a life coach. I learned a lot about online marketing, so then I became a life and business coach. But there's been this thing inside of me that when I hit my 5-year mark, I felt, okay, I'm stable and I really want to help other people going through this most challenging journey of their life. I want to be able to help them and guide them go through this process because I learned so much. So that's when I met you guys and this amazing organization, and I became certified through the training. And it's just been an amazing thing that I get to do, to show up in the most human way possible, with a stranger who's going through the most challenging time of their life and being able to guide them through the process. And it's just been beautiful. That was a lot of talking.
Yes. Yeah, it is multifactorial, and I think it's great that you realize, that the root cause needs to be discovered in that way. And then, yeah, a lot of people say it's a luxury. They get to really see where they need to be authentic and what needs to change. And maybe that would have never happened. So it's kind of a bless in the mess.
Yeah. Yeah, so many different changes. And, being in the middle of it felt eternal. I just kept having to remind myself that this was temporary and that at some point I would get through it and be on the other side. It felt endless, but it really only lasted the bad part was about 6 months. And then it took about 2 years to really feel like I was back on track and in my body and all that. It's been over 5 years. And so I know and I remember how hard it was to be in the middle of it. But I kind of find a parallel between that journey and somebody who wants to go on a challenging expedition like climbing Mount Everest or something. They need to hire a guide that knows the right trails and knows where the pitfalls are to be able to guide them through the challenges to get to their goal. And I really see this process of cancer coaching as that, it's like, we've been through it. I know what this is like, and I've learned and I've trained in so many different ways to be able to help somebody through this process. And not only the person going through cancer, but a lot of our focus, because I work with my partner, with my husband, who's an amazing life coach and with a background in social work, in really supporting the caregivers as well, because they're going through a really rough time. The person they love is in pain and angst and going through that. And at the same time, all the extra responsibilities that have fallen on them. So they're going through a lot of their own issues. And sometimes we found caregivers and patients don't quite agree necessarily on the path. So it's important for us to bring them together and in alignment so that, they get their best possible outcome in the end, which is hopefully becoming a cancer thriver right from the start. So
Yeah, you make a lot of good points. I love your analogy, climbing Mount Everest. I think that's really true. It's a very complicated process, and somebody that's already been through it and has navigated it successfully, it can be that support I think is really vital. And that's why we're so supportive of the coaches, and we want them to have all the resources, and that's why we really have this one place where all the coaches can come together, because everybody has their own background and everybody can really lend to each other, because it is everybody has their own unique experience. But that compassion and support from somebody that understands is really wonderful. And I saw you had a guide on your website, and I actually downloaded that, and
you did?
yes, I did. And I was reading all about that, and I thought it was really great. And then I also downloaded your recipes.
Ooh.
And I thought you had some on your site, but then you had one you could download too.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really wonderful too.
Are you going to try making some of them?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of my goals is really to make the whole cooking piece really doable and practical.
Right.
Because I think people go, what am I going to eat? Just rabbit food, just salads? I mean, what can I eat? And there's a lot of talk about, the plant-based diet, but then how do you do it? How do you make things that are nutritious and delicious? And for me, it's important that they look beautiful too.
Absolutely. And I loved your sushi, your vegetable sushi. I thought was really cool.
That's one of my favorites.
We do that here too.
Yeah.
And I love your really upbeat, almost playful edge to what you do, because you take that mood of cancer and you elevate it. And there's a lot of, and then I was telling you before we got on, I feel a lot of gratitude and love surrounding your message. And I found it to be really, really touching and inspirational and healing. So it just felt really good. So I urge everyone to really check your website. And there's a couple videos too. You did a fundraiser with your oncologist, and you were dancing the cha-cha. How awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing. At the end of the whole thing, when I had been, cleared and no evidence of disease for quite a while, she approached me because there was a fundraising event for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And the idea was to pair an oncologist with a patient, kind of dancing with the stars kind of a thing. And she had never danced in her life, but it had always been a dream. And I had danced a little bit, but nothing like this. So we hired a choreographer, and she taught me the routine here where I am in San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico for 3 months. And I would fly back to San Diego to teach it to Marin. And we went from nothing to this really cool little routine. We worked really hard.
Unbelievable.
And what was beautiful was what happened in our relationship through that process. Because, she had always been, the authority as the doctor. But when it got to dancing, she needed to kind of give up some control and let me lead.
I love it.
And it really made us get very close to each other. We love each other so much, like brother and sister. And and it transformed that whole relationship. You know, she learned a lot about nutrition and supplements and everything through this ordeal because she wasn't really into that before.
Right.
But she's told me that now she approaches that and includes some of that with her patients. So that made me
What a
feel really
wonderful
good.
thing. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us too about your retreats, because I know you have another website and you do some really great cancer retreats.
Yeah, well, you know, I really feel that we want to give people who are going through this, especially newly diagnosed people who are really kind of freaking out, and experience, if their cancer's not moving fast and advanced, or even after treatment, if that's what they choose, to come to our space in San Miguel de Allende, which is a magical, beautiful town that kind of feels like a town in Italy or something. It's been named the #1 city in the world several times. And we have a beautiful property. And we've designed a full week where people can get immersed in what the anti-cancer diet and anti-cancer lifestyle is about. So we do cooking classes. They eat really great food. We
And
get
it
into
must be
them.
full of sunshine, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous here. The weather is great. We get a lot into the mindset piece of what it's like to become a cancer thriver right from the beginning, of knowing that that's your goal. Joseph does work with hypnotherapy to deal with anxiety and fear. And we have them experience different modalities like, you know, yoga in the morning or Tai Chi. And there's hot springs that we go to. And they get to talk to a naturopathic doctor and to a psychologist. So after the whole week, our goal is that they get really clear about their path, where they want to go, how they want to approach this. And then we follow up with coaching afterwards. So they don't just go home and they're on their own. They continue to, you know, bounce ideas back and forth so that they stay on the path that feels right to them. Because you know that cancer diagnoses are different for every person. And so every path is different, and people need to really connect to what that is for them versus just following the one size fits all thing that's not really effective. So that's our goal. And I love the cooking piece. I love teaching people how to make wonderful food that's healthy and delicious. So we do that.
Yeah, and what a nice way to get away from things into a magical place where you're in nature, and that allows a person to really connect with themselves.
Yeah, and the town is very beautiful and magical. So there's plenty of time also to go shopping and explore the town and, learn what kinds of foods to order at restaurants when you're not here in the retreat space, so that you take these skills and have them work for you when you go home. But this town really has something so special. It recharges people's batteries. Some people say that there's like crystals or something in the earth. I don't know if that's true or not. But there's something, aside from being visually beautiful, that you can just sense from being here that's very healing. And that's why we decided to do the retreats.
Is it on the Gulf side?
No, it's in central Mexico. There's no ocean.
Okay.
So it's high desert, kind of like maybe Santa Fe, New Mexico would
Oh,
feel.
okay.
Yeah, it's high desert, and it's a little hard to get to. You have to fly to Leon and then take a shuttle that takes about an hour and 20 minutes or so. Once you're here, it's amazing. So yeah, it's the whole idea is to have people lose their fear and replace it with joy and direction. That's why we like to keep things light. There's so much angst regarding cancer.
Yes.
And we're not trying to minimize any of that, but there's a lot of love and a lot of miracles in this experience too. So it's a matter of where are we focusing our energy.
I think you've really grasped that, and I think that you're really able to pass that on and make that happen for people, because I could feel it right away.
Mm,
And I think what people don't realize is when you're in fear and that cortisol's flowing and things, there's hormones that are flowing that are not in your best interest. And when somebody is able to bring you out of that to another place where different hormones are flowing, that's where healing starts taking place. So if you can minimize that, maximize where the joy, and start to move into that and out of the fear, and start to really connect with yourself, and believe that there's love and healing is possible, and start moving in that direction and
Oh,
be empowered.
yeah, I absolutely believe in that. As a matter of fact, I just remembered that when I was going through it all, I used to tell myself, cancer feeds on fear. And that was the mechanism I used to not let myself go down a deep hole of fear and terror, because I thought the more, afraid I am of this whole experience, the more this thing's going to take hold. So I can just find some way to become peaceful with this. I don't want to have this war inside my body. I thought it needed to come into, okay, what are you trying to tell me? And what am I not listening to in my life? And how can I connect to that? The other part that's really important to me, and that I feel really was a key part of my recovery, was developing a new relationship with my intuition. And because, it can be very conflicted with all the stuff you read, and everybody tells you opposite things. And if we engage our brain in trying to make decisions, we get confused. But if we descend 12 inches to our heart and connect to our intuition, that's the piece that was so important, because that guided me. Like, I connected to the future healed me, and I asked him, what did we do? Did we do chemo? Did we do this supplement? Did we do this? And
Wow.
he kind of became my mentor through the process. And often what I heard went against doctor's advice or whatever, but it really felt like I needed to honor that. And it worked.
That's incredible wisdom. And I think you touched on the caregivers also, that are coming from their own fear. So they're pushing a certain mindset, and they may not have researched or learned the same amount. So they're coming from their point of view. So it's nice for everybody to get involved, I think, and to also, like you said, trust your own intuition, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's that person's decision.
Yeah. And, this is another piece that, our goal is always to, have hope and to heal into life. But I think it's also important to, and this is a challenging part to talk about sometimes, but to kind of know that we can heal our life and create peace of mind and closure with every aspect of our life, and heal into releasing our body as well, if that's the direction where this is going. We like to always focus on life, and sometimes it goes in the opposite direction. And when it does, it can be a beautiful process. So we have a choice also on how we go through that particular path, panicked and scared and angry, or coming into some sort of peace with that. And I think when we finally come into harmony with that possibility, and we lose the fear of that, then we're more able to live.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was there anything that really uh, worked for you that you want to pass on to people? I know it's not one thing, but there's so many things. But
You mean you mean going through my cancer journey? This might sound kind of simple, but that piece about this is temporary, and having that constant reminder was really important to me, is that it doesn't feel like it, but it is temporary, and I'm going to get through this. And setting up right from the very beginning that I knew that somehow I was going to thrive after this experience, that this experience was going to somehow enrich my life, and I was going to end up in a better place in the end. I just refused to let this thing get me down right from the beginning. So holding that and just trusting that I was somehow going to be led to that, and knowing that the discomfort was temporary.
Okay.
And and that's what came to pass. I mean, I feel so blessed and so grateful in my life. And thank God that I've had a second chance in my life, which helped me refocus my energy into what I want to create and how do I want to make a difference in this world. You know, we're all here to leave a legacy in some way. You know, what did we do in this world to make a difference? And for me, this is it. And I've been given a second opportunity to do it. So it feels really good.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being one of our wonderful coaches and in our
Thank
coaching
you.
family. You want to tell everybody where to find you?
Yes, the website is healedcancernow.com.
Mhm.
And you can read up about our approach to coaching, and you can read about the retreats. And there's recipes on the blog, and hopefully more and more inspiring messages. We're also building all kinds of resources, websites where people can go to that I found really helpful, articles, all kinds of things. It's being built up. There's so much that I want to do with that website, but if you go in and check it out periodically, you'll see growth.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also get information about your retreats. Um, and the recipes are great. And and again, there's those guides I thought that were really nice, things you can download, videos, you can see them in action dancing. And, you know, I think there's a motivational talk I saw. You know, there's things that really you can get to know you on a little more of a personal level.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought you were very uplifting, and I thought it was really great. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I'm really, really committed to this process and making a difference in people's lives. So
You're doing it.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks. Thanks for
you.
your time with doing this interview. I so appreciate it. Everything you guys are doing with the organization is phenomenal. I loved the training and what you're doing for people with cancer. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. The course puts everybody kind of on the same, coming from the same point of view. We're all like-minded. We may have different backgrounds and experiences, but together we're very strong, and we're doing really great things. So thank you for being
Yes,
part of that mission.
of course.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Ciao. Bye, everyone.